Welcome back to the Toro Hospital studio. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer alongside Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill. And anytime we bring up injuries, everybody is holding on to the edge of their seat, especially with this fan base. And we do have some updated news on Rashid Shaheed. Might be that we don't see him for a few weeks. We'll get into that later on in the show.
Saints fans freak out? Are you serious? No. They're the calmest, most
Sure.
just level-headed people in the world. I don't think anything major to worry about with Rashid, but we'll see how that comes together. As always, we are coming to you from the Toro Hospital studio, and we're presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's has the best coffee in the whole entire world. And if you need to get a car, go check out my guy, Matt Bowers. He has the best car dealerships in the Gulf South region. They will take care of you. They will get you into the car of your dreams, and they will do so in the smoothest possible fashion. So go check them out. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Hoss here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most on the North or South Shore. Call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief coffee.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. You better call Botto if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims. You better call Botto at 504-323-7777 or 985-303-7777 for your free consultation and case review. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend and Company Jewelers. Friend and Company Jewelers is excited to announce the opening of their new engagement salon. The fleur-de-lis earrings and necklace that you see I have on now are specially priced for our NOF listeners, so go check them out. All right, our lead topic, a big one, injury news. A source tells us Rashid Shaheed will miss the next few weeks with his groin injury. He was not at practice again for practice number 11. Our source tells us, though, he will be ready by week 1. Given he's going to be out for what will be a few weeks, we don't know if that's 3, 4. We don't really have a direct timeline on that yet. Can he really be ready for week 1?
Well, everything we've heard is that it's not a major issue. Dennis Allen said that. Sources outside the building say that. So I'm confident in the information that he's going to be ready for week 1. I think he's probably going to be ready before week 1, but it's just, is he going to be ready for week 1? Yeah, he'll be ready for week 1. So, I mean, I think it's not something to panic about, but you want him out there practicing. The things we saw with him out there at practice is that they were trying to get more creative, getting him the ball in different ways, on jet sweeps, on different screens, using him more in the slot, which is a new position for him. So if you take him out of that practice mix, it's going to set that back in some way. Maybe not in the material way that we ever noticed. We might hit, the middle of the season and forget that this ever happened because he's so productive. But you want him on the field. You want him practicing. You want him doing all those things. You want him uninjured. The thing I don't like, this offseason, his second injury already this offseason. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on a little bit. But this stuff's going to happen when it's 275 degrees every day at practice and you have fast players running and exerting their muscles in the Louisiana heat. It's just one of those unavoidable things.
Yeah, no, he nailed the top 2 things that I was going to say on the head, which was it's the second time now that he's had a soft tissue injury.
already this offseason. And he is an undrafted rookie who missed pretty much all of the offseason last year too. He needs the training. I mean, we'll be talking going into year 3 about how this is finally my first healthy offseason. And, in the moment you can make light of some of those things, but these are the weeks that Cesar Ruiz wanted back years ago, that Peyton Turner wanted back years ago. I mean, you want a guy like that. He's learning new positions and everything like that. You want him on the field. I'm still going to have high hopes for him. And, an injury like this, you should take the 2-3 weeks right now instead of trying to rush him back because you want him healthy when it really counts. But yeah, I mean, we were excited about him being one of the breakout potential candidates on the team. And this puts a little hesitation into declaring him a breakout, but hopefully he's past it when it counts.
I'll go one step further too. He's also working with a new quarterback, and we'll see how the offense shapes out around Derek Carr. We'll actually get to see that in the preseason game. But for me, it's, can you build that chemistry with a brand new quarterback? He worked with a different quarterback last year. He's only a second-year guy, undrafted. He proved that he has the talent to be a wide receiver in the NFL and a special teams guy. But we did see a few drops in the last few practices when he was presumably healthy, and I think you have to get those reps in with Derek Carr.
Yeah, I think that's an issue we're seeing with all the wide receivers right now, too. There's still kind of that dialing in process, and I think that shows up a lot on deep passes. You have to get used to how somebody accelerates, how they track the ball. One of the things Shaheed kind of had some issues with, and you mentioned the drop, was just kind of spotting the ball out of the air, and you just kind of got to get used to that trajectory, and Derek has to get used to how quickly he's going to burst. Now he's going to come out of a break. And, there's all these different little things that it can be a setback. The one thing that is good about this, though, unlike a Cesar Ruiz or a Trevor Penning, if you can go out there and you can run fast and get away from the person covering you, you could still produce on some level. But one of the things Shaheed talked about a lot this offseason was how he was out there last year just kind of playing, and he didn't really know the playbook, and he didn't really know why he was doing all the things he was doing. If you can put all that together, the coverage, the playbook, you're going to be a much, much better player. You're going to be more precise. So there's no silver lining here. Missing time is never a good thing for a player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of injuries, the Saints wasted no time going and getting a running back. They will reportedly host running back Kareem Hunt Tuesday, and this comes, of course, after Eno Benjamin was placed on IR Monday. Is this to fill that hole?
I'm torn on this one because my first thing is, what do they need Kareem Hunt for when they have Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kendre Miller? How is he going to fit? People were really excited about the idea of signing him before they added Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller. But then my second thought is, well, if you have to replace Eno Benjamin on the depth chart, you'll need a third running back when Alvin misses 3 games due to suspension. If he's cheap, why not go get the best, one of the top caliber guys still out there? And I mean, Ezekiel Elliott and Leonard Fournette and Dalvin Cook are out there. I mean, this is why running backs aren't getting paid. The supply is ridiculous. So if Kareem Hunt is cheap and he gets to be your 4th running back for cheap, why not? But, all of a sudden, you look at this backfield and you're like, what are they all going to get 5 carries a game?
Yeah, I mean, 678 yards from scrimmage last year, still a productive player. The only reason not to do is if you have character concerns, but I think that he's stayed out of trouble in Cleveland. I like the move. I mean, if Alvin's not going to be out there, Sean Payton would have had Traveris Cadet out there or something. Like, go out there, get a good player. You don't say you like the room. Like, get somebody good that can play. So I like the move. If he's in shape, if he's ready to play, just keep making it stronger. Like, who cares if it's a strength? And what if he ends up being good? Like, okay, now you got 4 guys. Like, who cares? There's room for everybody on the roster. Get good players, win the football games.
I read this as more as Dennis Allen wanting to keep competition in every room. Yeah. Maybe he does like Kareem Hunt, but as we've heard over and over from him, he wants to create a very competitive environment in training camp, and he's proving that. Let's take an attendance report real quickly here. 8 guys were missing today. The rest days or veteran days were Jimmy Graham, Marshawn Lattimore, and we believe JT Gray also had a rest day. Now, the guys who are out because of injury outside of Shaheed include Demario Davis with a calf injury, Traquan Smith with a groin, Andres Pete with a quad, Lucas Kroll with a tailbone, and Coda Martin with an ankle. Now, there's a few of these that are a little bit alarming to me. The Coda Martin ankle and the Lucas Kroll tailbone, a little bit different. The other ones, we've heard from Dennis Allen that these aren't too concerning. We actually saw Demario Davis out of the training facility when we were doing interviews. He was working off to the side with one of the trainers, which is a really good sign. But
walking and all that stuff. Yeah.
What's going on with Lucas Kroll and Coda Martin?
I don't know, but I mean, a guy hurting his tailbone colliding with the ground is always something that's just, it sounds like it hurts really bad. Like that's a hard place to get hurt. And if that puts you on the injury list, and then ankle too. I mean, these aren't necessarily just muscle pulls. So we'll see how they kind of shake out. I think if, we'll probably have better information if one of these guys has a serious injury and they do sign. Anthony Barr is also visiting the linebacker if they sign Hunt. One of them, if it's a serious injury, maybe then you see something happen. Hopefully it's not Kroll, because I really, really like what he's done this offseason. I think he's somebody that's maybe a dark horse to possibly make the roster at a really crowded position. And, we'll see how that shakes out. But if he keeps making plays the way he is, he's going to make a case and he's going to make a hard decision, which is a good thing. And maybe it forces out somebody else, somewhere else on the roster. But hopefully that's not something serious with him, because it felt like he was starting to catch fire a little bit.
And Kroll, especially the timing stinks, because he feels like a guy who probably would have played like 3 quarters and had about 8 targets in the first preseason game. So him missing out on preseason snaps would be disappointing, because he's trying to make that case in what has suddenly become a really crowded group. I'm not as worried about Anthony Barr being a sign of Demario Davis being injured at this stage of his career. Anthony Barr is more of a sub-package guy who would maybe play like the Caden Ellis role from last year if they want to bring in competition for guys competing for that role, like Zach Ball, Nephi Sewell, DeMarco Jackson. The only one, I mean, look, I know everybody replies to every tweet about injuries being like, Dennis Allen said he was optimistic this one wasn't going to be serious, and it is. I think he's trying. I genuinely think he's trying to be as honest as he can with, and he'll always say, obviously we need to get further testing. But Coda Martin was the one where he added even with Kroll, he lumped that in with all the other ones. He said, with most of these, we're optimistic that it won't be long-term. Coda Martin's the one that we need to find out a little bit more about. So that could be, and obviously Coda Martin, who they had already cut when they signed Trey Turner, now missing out on potentially a couple of weeks in the time where he already was facing an uphill battle. That's going to be hard for him.
Jesse James and Kirk Merritt also left practice early with minor injuries. But of the guys we were just talking about, do we think these guys play Sunday against the Chiefs?
No, it's easy. I mean, it's already a tough enough decision to decide who plays, who doesn't play in the preseason anyway, if somebody's dealing with an injury. I mean, now, some of the backups, I'm trying to think of who the backups are on that list. They might want to get Kirk Merritt back out there, but there's no way you rush DeMario back for a first preseason game. There's no way you rush Andrus Peat back after the time he's missed. So, no, I think if we don't see those guys definitely in practice after the off day is over on Tuesday, anybody who's not practicing by Wednesday probably is not playing in the game, I don't think.
Would you say the same?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, if Lucas Kroll just has like a bruise on his tailbone and he's fine, he probably plays in the game if it's healed up. But if anybody has anything that's kind of lingering, play it safe. Like there's no point in rushing anybody out there for a preseason game.
Let's bring the energy back into the room. We're talking about one-on-ones. Our moment of the day presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. The Chris Olave catch over Alontae Taylor. And I hate it because I feel like we've just been ragging on Alontae Taylor, but he does need to step up. He has not had a great week or almost 2 weeks of camp. He needs to prove it. But Chris Olave, he made 2 great catches. The one I'm talking about is on the one-on-one against Alontae Taylor. And it's one of those where he catches it on top of Alontae's helmet. Beautiful catch, gets on top of him, catches it right in the end zone. And it trash talk going up and back as you would if you're Chris Olave in that moment. He's just been so good this camp. I really want to see what he does in year 2.
Oh man, he's been amazing in this camp. He's outside of Marshawn. I mean, I think he's the best player in training camp right now. And that catch right there, if you're looking for evidence of Chris Olave being more muscular, being more able to make contested catches, that was the moment of the whole camp. And it might have been the most important moment we've seen this offseason because we wanted the fact or fiction on that. We've seen some of it. And that was kind of like a solidifying moment in my mind that, okay, like he can actually do this and make these catches. Because last year, he's trying to pull that ball in, keep it pinned to Alontae's helmet, and he's not going to be able to hold it. He doesn't have the strength to do it. This year he does. Huge moment. I agree with you on Alontae. I thought he was a little rough on one-on-ones. On this one, though, like the coverage was like great. Like he was right there. He was in there. It was just Chris made an unbelievable play to complete that catch. But I do think, Alontae needs to do some things.
See it.
Yeah. I want to see. I think he has the potential to run away with that number 2 job, and he's just got to do it. Like he's got to go out there and make those plays. Debo's making more plays. There were a couple he made today where it was definitely pass interference. Like, it was definitely pass interference. And if that's happening, like we said, we'll see it in the preseason. We'll see it in the joint practices when there's officials out there. That's going to come out in the wash. It's going to be a little bit more clear, I think, after this Chiefs game and going to LA, like where those guys actually rank. But I just want to see Alante just start pulling out the dagger and stabbing people and just start cutting everybody up and win the race.
Yeah, Mike Thomas had a couple good reps against him too. His back and forth with Olave. This was Olave's best contested catch in 1 day, because yesterday they were in the end zone and Alante Taylor got an interception in one-on-ones, but on the next one, Chris Olave gets, again, Alante Taylor had good coverage, but Chris Olave got the one-handed catch, kept both feet in bounds at the back end of the end zone. His contested catch against Marcus May early in camp when they did a 2-minute drill in OTAs, like we've been seeing it consistently. The number one thing he had to work on. So I completely agree. Not only are they wow plays, but they're wow plays that really mean something, because that's the area of his game. He had the fingertip catch on the
He's
on the grass
unbelievable
yesterday.
right now. He's a
killing it.
superstar. He's going to be a superstar. There's no question about it.
And it's honestly led me to question this, which I did not think this would be something I'd be asking us this early in camp, is will Chris Olave outperform Michael Thomas this season? Look, he hasn't had a bad day. I'm talking about Michael Thomas, but the ramp up for Mike, it's kind of stalled as of late. Like, he doesn't look like the strong Michael Thomas yet. And I think that's okay, because as Dennis Allen has said, they're ramping him up, but you've kind of seen the frustration. Mike wants to be Mike right now. Yeah. So do you think Olave could potentially outperform Michael Thomas?
Chris Olave is the best offensive player on this team. And he's going to be the best offensive player on this team. He's going to have the best numbers on this team. He's going to have the best film on this team. He is better than anybody out there. And that's fine. He's a first-round pick. He should be. I think he's going to outperform Mike Thomas this year. If you're asking me to bet on it, and that's an easy bet for me. And it wouldn't have been an easy bet for me before. Like, I'm the biggest Mike Thomas believer in the whole world. And, I'm not saying anything bad about him, but Chris is just outrunning everybody right now. And until Mike starts doing that, you can't say anything else at all. So I'm all in on Chris Olave's upside right now. There's no question about it. And I do, you said it. I think that Mike started out at a point and you wanted to see it just keep going and going and going and going. And it's just kind of been, steady, which is fine. I think there's a lot of stuff that he's doing while he's making plays over the middle. The slants look great. The crossing routes look great. But some of the stuff where you need to create separation or even drops. Like, I've never saw Mike Thomas drop a pass. Like, he never dropped passes in practice. That's kind of happening now. So I think he just has to settle in. I think he's getting used to a new quarterback. We've seen them go back and forth. There's a lot of stuff to where I think that there's circumstances where reaching a conclusion right now would be a little bit crazy and irresponsible, but it's something you're watching. You know, you wanted to be convinced by now, and it's just kind of like, like, when's that day gonna come where it's like the Mike Thomas F you, I'm back, everybody stop talking shit, like, this is me, I'm here, and it hasn't come yet.
And we did see that last summer. Like, we last summer, Mike Thomas was the one on the field that was like, wow. I mean, we're looking at that all-pro receiver on the field, and it hasn't quite looked like that, but we expected Russ. The good thing about Mike Thomas is he's out there every single day. So if you wrote it down on paper beforehand, first he needs to get his health back, then he needs to get back to full speed, then he needs to get his rhythm and timing back. I mean, it makes sense that we're seeing it like that. The fact that he's out there every day is a good sign. I do wonder about separation. I mean, he's in his 30s and he's missed, almost 3 full seasons with major injuries. So maybe separation is not going to be a strength of his. I have a hard time thinking I'm going to worry about his hands. I agree. He's letting balls, he's, either get stripped away from him or just playing a couple drops in practice. To me, that shouldn't be a concern. I mean, we'll see as we continue down the road. But the only area where I think he could outperform Olave this year is if he does stay on the field is maybe volume of catches. I mean, maybe he catches 5 for 50 while Olave's catching 4 for 80 or something like that. But yeah, Olave feels like a bona fide wide receiver one in the league, not just on this team, but like a bona fide, top dog, top 12, top 15 receiver in the league, if not more. I think he could have that potential this year.
And it sounds like we are potentially going to see Chris Olave, Derek Carr, a number of other starters. As we've kind of teased a little bit earlier in the show, Dennis Allen says the starters will play in that first preseason game coming up on Sunday. That'll be in our money segment right after the break.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Life is full of unexpected events, which can come with unplanned expenses. Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union has a variety of personal loan products to meet your needs. Whether it's treating yourself to something new, paying off an unexpected expense, or consolidating debt, we are here to help. With rates as low as 8.5% APR, a personal loan with Jefferson Financial can help. Don't let life's curveball impact your financial happiness. Apply today at jeffersonfinancial.org. Membership restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Toro, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world, to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong, and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Toro, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care, and newborns to seniors. At Toro, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Turn up the heat with new games from the lottery. For a sizzling start, play Hot 8. Win up to $8,000. Twist your way to winnings with Cherry Twist. Win up to $18,000. It's not your parents' crossword. Play Crossword Explosion. Win up to $30,000. Bigger, better, top prizes. Play $250,000 money bags. Top prize on this game, a whopping $250,000. Enjoy all 4 hot new games from the lottery.
Welcome back to the Toro Hospital studio. Let's get into our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Look, the Stars are playing Sunday. I think we're all excited to hear that. I was honestly shocked to hear Dennis Allen be so open about it, but as he's been this whole training camp, he's really been an open coach, and we've all appreciated that very much. But I doubt we see the Chiefs starters, but if we do see the Chiefs starters in that first preseason game, what a good measuring stick for the Saints.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember Andy Reid's history. Isn't he one of the ones who's known for playing his starters in the preseason? I should have done more Chiefs research.
For that but that ticket is going to be a hot seller.
Yeah,
if that's the case.
They usually communicate on some level before the game, and there's usually, if one team's doing one thing, the other team's doing it. They kind of lay out their plan. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the Chiefs starters. I actually would have been shocked not to see the Saints starters in this game because I don't think they're going to play in the next 2. I think it would be dumb to play them after joint practices against the Chargers in Houston. But you got to get your players on the field at some point. They got to get used to coming out of the tunnel, being in the huddle together, especially you got a new quarterback. They got to be in an actual huddle with the crowd. He needs to hear Pete Carmichael in his ear to, call plays and communicate that. And just so when they're going out there, when they play in the actual week 1, it's not so jarring. So it was something that I think needed to happen. I think it's smart to do it. Obviously, don't push your injured players out there. It's not that important. But the guys that can be out there, I think, need to be out there. So I think it's the right call. I'm in full support of it.
I was a little surprised, too, that he's, so open with it. But it is a difference from last year. They didn't. Now, I don't know for sure if the fact that Jameis Winston got hurt a few days before the first preseason game changed his plan. But a lot of starters sat last time. And look, we might only see them for a limited time in this game. We don't know exactly how long they'll play. Mm-hmm. But I think it is kind of definitively, this team got off to a slow start last year. I would not be surprised at all if they decided to change the way they approach the preseason after it was a lot of light workload for the starters last year. He said, we'll see about week 2 beyond this if we want to play him more. If he likes what he sees in week 1, if they get good work in the joint practices, maybe this will be the only time we see the starters. But I'm glad to see him. I'll be looking forward to it. I know that.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be looking for in this first preseason game. But what's the one thing you're going to be eyeing?
I think it's just, I want to see how Derek Carr manages the offense. I want to make sure that everything's intact. I want to see no false starts. I want the offensive line to be in sync, which I think is a huge issue right now. Like, they've had a lot of issues on that offensive line throughout camp. I think the pass rushes look good, but it's like, ugh, like, is it because these guys aren't playing and then they aren't used to playing with one another? And now you got to get like used to Derek Carr's cadence. Like, it isn't just the receivers getting used to him. It's they got to get used to how Derek Carr calls things at the line of scrimmage. You got to do that in the game. You got to be orderly. You got to be in sync. And there are a lot of questions, I think, just with that whole operation that need to be just kind of answered affirmatively.
I want to see everything. Like, I tried writing this down before the show. What do I want to see? And I wrote down like 18 names, and I'm like, all right, I realize I'm right. You know, I started with, is Mike T going to play? Do I want to see that? You know, I want to see Peyton Turner and Brazil. I want to see Penning and Ruiz. I want to see the linebackers all getting their chance to shine with DeMario unlikely to play. I want to see Jake Haener. I want to see Kendrick Miller. I want to see all of this stuff. But I mean, I think if I had to highlight one, it's defensive guys who are actually trying to tackle people. I've been really excited to be able to finally lay eyes on Peyton Turner and Brian Brzee doing things in practice in pads that are close to resembling real football plays. Carl Granderson had a great practice today. He's been one of the standouts at camp to me. Malcolm Roach has been one of the standouts at camp to me. But now we're going to see those guys when they are actually going all out to tackle somebody on the other side of the field, and we will be able to make real evaluations of them. So that'll be my number one problem.
Let me go off script here. Where are you at on Peyton Turner? I feel like you like it. I feel like you like him.
Like I said, I think I'm willing it to happen, but he is showing the first round. Like, to me, he looks like you see the traits that got him drafted in the first round. Now, consistency has never been there for him, and health has never been there for him. So those are the two things that you can't see until he's playing consistent snaps. But the way he moves, I like watching him in one-on-ones. I like watching him when he's out there in run defense, and he can escape piles. Like, even when he gets drawn inside and then the run goes outside, he slips out and he chases down the run to the sideline. Spin moves, he has a variety, but sometimes that's a bunch of athletic movement that doesn't actually result in anything. But I think what we're seeing is exactly what we talked about with Rashid Shaheed. We're looking at a developmental young guy who has not missed a single OTA, minicamp, or training camp practice for the entire year after he missed a lot of that stuff last year. And I think we're seeing the results of it. We talked to him today too, and I think you hear him speaking with confidence that feels genuine. I think he feels great to be out here every day.
Outside of that, was there anything surprising that you heard from Peyton Turner? Does he sound different? Does he look different?
He does look. Add him to the list
field,
of people that got together. Dennis Allen, Matt Ray, Todd Grantham got together and decided they want some of these guys lighter. He said he was getting up as high as 285, 287, and now he's closer to the high 270s, wow. 280. And I think that's part of what I'm seeing on the field. Answer that question yourself. No. You don't like what you're seeing?
No, I refuse to answer it. I thought I was buying on the dip last year, and it was just like, it was just, okay, well, it didn't change. So I just have to see it at this point. I can't,
of course.
I can't like speculatively buy his stock anymore.
Sure.
Like, it's just like, okay, I'll wait to see when it goes up, and I'll probably be like, damn, I wish I would have got in sooner. But like, I can't do it.
I'm not going to invest any money in it, but it's something I'm excited to see. It's why it's number one on high on my list is I want to start seeing it. Like, he's somebody I'm looking forward to watching each one of his snaps because I think there is the potential for it to happen, but I'm not saying it has happened. One thing, though, that does give me a little more confidence in our concern about the defensive line, I genuinely think we're seeing it with that Carl Granderson, what he did last year was not a fluke. I agree with what you said about you wish Carl Granderson was your third. You wish somebody could beat him out. He's sort of a baseline level player. But if he was anybody but Carl Granderson, we'd be so excited about what he did. Did he have like 6 sacks over the last 8 games? He took the starting job away from Marcus Davenport, and I think he is just further building off that. I like watching his run defense snaps just as much as I like his pass rush snaps.
To be fair, though, like part of the reason he's shining so much right now is that he's going against Landon Young.
Yeah. True.
But I do think he's having a good camp. I'm not taking anything away from him. I think what you're seeing, I'm seeing the same thing. I like a lot of stuff we're seeing from him. I still don't know that I'd put my money on him having like a 10-sack season. And I think like that's what you want at that other spot, especially when you drafted a guy in the first round. That's what you're looking for. I still like him better as a third guy. And maybe I end up, I'll be happy to eat those words. Like, I would like to watch a good pass rush this year. Having the guys in the middle might help him a little bit too, but
I think of him a little like I think of James Hurst, though, in the sense of we don't know what Peyton Turner is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not high on Isaiah Foskey being an early breakout. I haven't seen any glimpses of that yet. But what I mean is I don't think this team needs somebody to come out of nowhere and become something. If Carl Granderson is what you're putting out there, I feel better about the starting four. Like, they don't need mystery man to replace him. He could be a solid starter.
He could be. Yeah, no, that's fair.
And speaking of the defense, I actually been watching this. Who's been calling out the plays on the defensive side of the ball? It's been DA, it's been Joe Woods. Today it was Joe Woods. And I had Nick actually pull Dennis Allen to the side. And I'm like, see if he'll tell you who's actually calling the defensive plays. If it's going to be, if Allen, I believe when he took the head coaching job, his words were, I don't want to give away the baby yet. I mean, that's his thing. And that's something that he values, being able to call be the defensive play caller. And it sounds like he might try and hold on to that a little bit this year, even though he went and got a veteran coach in Joe Woods.
DA's going to do that forever. He'll never give it up in a real game. He'll have Joe Woods do it at some point during the preseason, just in case there's, for some reason, DA disaster strikes, he has to miss a game, gets sick, whatever. It happens, Maybe maybe some mystery disease comes out of nowhere and things happen. Yeah. I mean, but we've seen it happen before. So you got to be prepared for any contingency. But that's DA all season long. He's going to do that throughout the season. He's going to do it every season he's here. He should do it. That's what he's best at. He's one of the best defensive play callers in, the last 6-7 years. Like, he's that good. He's that guy. I don't think he should ever give that up. But yeah, Joe Woods will get some time at it, but that should not be Joe Woods' thing. Joe Woods should coach, be the DC, focus on the secondary. Secondary looks really good right now. I think he's having a very positive effect on a lot of those players. But when it's time to go and the bullets are flying, DA needs to be the guy calling those shots.
What do we hope and, more importantly, need to see from Derek Carr Sunday?
Smooth. And we're probably going to get into this when we talk about today's practice a little more, but how about drives that look like the 2-minute drill looked like today?
Wow, yeah.
I mean, it was smooth. It was efficient. I think we've seen smooth and efficient, not necessarily with the offensive line over the last week, but, the rhythm in the passing game, for the most part, I want to see that continue. Obviously, when he doesn't get the extra couple seconds because they're not actually tackling him to the ground, he's going to have to get the passes off on a schedule. So I just want to see the offense look smooth and functional. But I don't have any reason so far to think it won't.
Yeah, I'm with Mike. I don't know that there's anything specific that I'm still like scratching for. I think we've seen a lot of really good things. Red zone work,
Sure.
that's kind of maybe the thing in his career. Derek Carr under pressure, that's kind of the other thing. But I don't know that we're going to get good barometers of that until we're actually into the NFL season, like the real season, when people are blitzing them and it's a little bit harder to see where stuff's coming from. And, it matters and there's pressure on every snap. And, but at this point, I think it's been clean and it looks good. There's really nothing that I'm kind of clawing at to see, all right, Derek Carr needs to do this.
Yeah, let's get to our observation segment. You brought it up, and I'm sure fans were like, what was that? Was that the hurry up period today? Yes, it was 2-minute drill, and I put the quotation marks around it because, as you pointed out, they actually only had 1 minute and 40 seconds up on the clock. Pressure was
2-minute
on
drill
them.
in quotation marks. But and we were wondering why they settled for a field goal. I thought maybe it was a situation where field goal ties, but then Dennis Allen told us after it was a first half 2-minute drill.
Yes.
So it's just take as many points as you get. And they did settle for a field goal. They were hot until they got to the red zone. Perfect example. I think everybody will be a little disappointed if they play 2 drives in the first half and they cruise down the field and then stall inside the 20. But he got the ball in Jawan Johnson's hands. He was getting the ball in running back's hands early on. It was an effective drive. Did he complete every pass on the drive?
6 for 6,
until they eventually ran out of time. Handoff to the middle hash, settled for a chip shot field goal. But.
Yeah, to be fair, that there was a handoff, and they were playing for the field goal at that point. They might have been able to score in that situation. And I think DA probably wanted the kicker to come out, Blake Grupe, to kick in that specific situation to get more of like a game day feel for it. But yeah, I thought it was an amazing drive. And the one thing that stood out to it, he goes to Jawan Johnson 3 times. The tight end in that 2-minute drill, it is the biggest cheat code in like NFL history, at least like the last 15 years. Kobe Fleener had like a 600-yard season off of like a 2-minute drill because it was just the tight end is always open in the way they call it, the way it's designed. It is one of the best design packages out of anything in the league. And Derek Carr has come in, he commanded it right away. But pick your quarterback and drop him in there. Every single guy, they look amazing. Jameis looks amazing in it. Andy Dalton looks amazing in it. Teddy Bridgewater looks amazing in it. Taysom Hill. It doesn't, Ian Book maybe not, but everybody else like that has operated it. It's just a beautifully designed package of plays, and they haven't done anything to change it since like 2009. And it's like even the hand signals, like the hand signals are still all the same. And it's just they go out there, they do the same thing. Nobody can stop it. Their own defense can't stop it. But Derek Carr looked really good commanding it today.
You bring up a good point with the tight ends. I'm curious, who gets the most targets? Is it Jimmy Graham or Juwan Johnson or Foster Moreau in that package?
I mean,
who are you throwing out there that you're like, this is my guy, this is who I'm going with?
Juwan.
In that package, yeah. And what I was going to say is last year, even when they were so good in the red zone, Juwan became like a buzzword. All of his numbers until about the last month of the season, last 6 weeks of the season when he started doing more, were in that no huddle hurry up. Like I think his first 5 or 6 touchdowns came in that no huddle hurry up. That's his package. There's no doubt about it. You had the question on the rundown though, who gets the most targets? I didn't know if you meant in the 2-minute drill or if you just meant in the preseason game. And Foster Moreau was the first name I wrote down, and I probably would have put Lucas Kroll down. I think the tight ends in all sections of this offense are gonna be heavy volume guys. I really do.
Could you have imagined yourself answering that or even saying that the tight end, it's going to be a heavy tight end offense before Foster Moreau, before Jimmy Graham was coming back, when it was Jawan, even go back to before you thought it was Adam Troutman too?
I have doubts on how much they produce though. Like
they
have a lot of options
That's
there.
fair.
I think they're going to make plays at times, but I don't know that there's going to be a focus on them. Now it could shift though. Like if Mike Thomas is injured or hindered, or Rashid Shaheed doesn't get up to speed, like it's possible. It's definitely possible, but they do have good players there. But I don't know that I'm betting on any of them outside of Jawan to top 500 yards this season. I think that, there's a lot of 200-yard guys and they're going to have their opportunities, but I don't know that the tight ends become the identity of this team in like a highly material way.
I meant identity of the team in a first preseason game, if I didn't make that clear. But I do think that this team is Olave, Thomas, Shaheed, and then like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in catches and stuff will all be, I think, running backs and tight ends. I think they will all chip in and have small pieces of the pie. But we've seen that in a lot of practices when they're stalling. We talked about tight end Tuesday a week ago, the next day. There's just been more options coming out of that group than I originally anticipated. I would have told you, to answer your question, before they added Moreau, before they added Jimmy Graham, before we saw Lucas Kroll, I would have said, I don't know, Jawan, and then maybe like 20 other catches by tight ends this season total.
Yeah.
And now I think that number's going to be a lot higher.
With respect to the question, though, like I do agree, though, that the tight end room actually being good and solid and not a concern.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest changes of this offseason, because coming into it was just like, boy, I don't know. Like they got one guy, and what else are they going to do? And now they do have good options. They're going to end up cutting good players.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are very, very solid players here. Like Jesse James is going to get cut. And if you told me he was on the team like before OTAs and everything, I'd have been like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to make the team. Who else is going to take his spot? He's not going to make the team. So it has been a nice rise for that group of players.
And if you call Taysom Hill a tight end, I know it's not exactly a tight end. It might be Jimmy Graham or Lucas Kroll. It really might be. I mean, do you need 5 and a fullback? I don't know. It's interesting.
Not a whole lot of questions at tight end, maybe with who you're going to keep. But one of the biggest questions I had heading into this is who is going to be your backups as far as the defensive backs. And we get a great question today for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Saints UK asks, with Marcus May's expected suspension and a lot of new names in the safety room, who's been the primary backup at free safety?
I mean, it's kind of been Jordan Howden recently. He's gotten a good amount of those snaps, but I'm not convinced like who's going to make the team even at that spot. I think it's been like one of the better battles of training camp. Jordan Howden's out there. Ugo Amadi's made a lot of plays. He's somebody that I think is going to make the team in some capacity. He should. He's very versatile, can play in the slot too. Lonnie Johnson Jr. is making plays. Jonathan Abrams made a handful of plays. Smoke Monday's starting to intercept passes. They have a lot of really good options at safety. I think they need the preseason. I think those guys are going to get a lot of work. I think that's really the spot to watch in these competitive periods.
It's crazy. I have 8 safeties. You just listed 5 backup safeties. That doesn't include JT Gray, who we don't necessarily think is in that mix, but who will make the team. Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, 8 safeties. I want to keep, and I might want to keep 5 or 6 corners too. It's really, really great that they have those choices to make, but I don't know which. I'm not ready to cut Lonnie Johnson, Jonathan Abrams, Smoke Monday, Jordan Howard, or Ugo Amadi right now. there might be room for like this weird imbalanced amount of safeties if that's what's going to make up their special teams this year, because they don't have Dwayne Washington on the team anymore. They don't have Daniel Sorensen, who was a special teams only guy last year. They don't have Chase Hansen. They just lost Andrew Dowell to a season-ending injury. So if these guys can all play special teams, maybe there's room for all of them. But that is an absolutely fascinating thing to watch during these preseason games. I mean, Jordan Howden's making the team because they drafted him, and he's showing great potential. But is it Smoke Monday, Lonnie Johnson, Jonathan Abram, Ugo Amadi? Are two of those guys are they fighting for their lives and maybe ending up on the practice squad in the preseason game? It's a fascinating, deep position battle.
Yeah, we're only 11 practices in. The Saints will get Tuesday off. We'll see if any of this changes for practice number 12. Again, Saints are off Tuesday. We'll be back right here in studio on Wednesday.